What's up guys, Matt from footballboots.co.uk, and today we have two pairs of the brand new Turbocharge pack by Adidas. So let's pull them out the bag and have a closer look at each model. So the first pair of boots that we're going to take a look at is the X16 Plus Purechaos. Now obviously this is the model worn by the likes of James Rodriguez, and the actual colourway that Adidas have given them is solar green, core green and core black, and it is definitely bold. So let's take a closer look at what Adidas have actually done to design the Turbocharge pack. So as we can see, Adidas have once again opted for the gradient design. We saw it on the Blue Blast pack and also on the Red Limit pack, where the colour changes from one into another at about the midway point. So on this Turbocharge one, we've got solar green on the back half of the boot, and then with that dusty kind of spray paint effect, it then transforms it into core green at the toe box, which is almost a little bit like Nike's Clear Jade, but overall it's definitely a bold colourway. I'm not going to say it's one that I'd personally choose, but if you are someone who does like green colourways, then this gradient effect is going to look brilliant. So we've just mentioned about how the upper features that gradient effect, and that actually continues on the sole plate as well, which is a really nice touch and something which I really like myself. Solar green, little bit of dusting in the midway part, and then core green at the front. Overall, I think it looks incredibly sharp and merges with the upper perfectly. So we've spoken about the upper's design, but what's happening with the upper material itself? Well, it's a very thin and soft synthetic, which is incredibly flexible. I think it's probably my favourite synthetic by Adidas on any model, with the Pure Control, the Primeknit, anything like that. I think this is my favourite. It's got a slash graphic detail on top, which does add a little bit of friction, but again, just adds to the softness, and overall, I think it's a top level synthetic by Adidas and probably my favourite. So I've said how I don't actually mind the colourway. Green isn't for me obviously, but I think the actual gradient effect looks really nice. Now one thing about the Purechaos which I really don't like, and it's also on the Pure Agility, is that tech fit collar, because it's got a tartan effect. I just don't think it merges with the boot that well. I wish they would have just given it a block colourway. If it merged with that solar green on the side panels and heels just a little bit better, if it was all one block solar green, I think it would just give it a much better look compared to this tartan that Adidas have opted for. So for anyone that watches our videos regularly will know just how much I love an external heel counter, and that's exactly what you get on the Purechaos. So we've got that external heel counter which flows into that sprint frame sole plate, and I personally think it's one of the better sole plates by Adidas, especially compared to the previous models of the X15.1, the X-Claw. I didn't like that, so now the 16.1 I think is much better with the sprint frame sole plate, and that's exactly the same on this Purechaos model as well. And then we've got these teardrop shaped conical studs which go all across the sole plate, which I think are pretty good. I'm not sure which one I prefer, maybe the conical of the A17.1 Primeknit and the Pure Controls, or this teardrop shape of the X. So one thing about the Purechaos that might not be for everyone is the Pure Cut cover. Now I do like how it is there to create a very uninterrupted ball striking and ball touching feel, but one thing which annoys me is when you actually tie the laces and then put them inside, you do just get a little bit of a bobble inside. Then when you do strike it with power, you can feel it on the top of your foot. So what I personally like to do is tie the laces and just keep them exposed at the top. I've also seen a couple of pro players do this. I know Diego Costa keeps his laces at the top as well. So if you do like the Purechaos, because in my opinion it has much the better upper compared to the X16.1. So if you do get this one, keep the laces at the top. So let's break down the X16 Plus Purechaos and tell you what actually works and doesn't. Well, it's got a sprint frame sole plate which gets a big tick. I think it's brilliant. It's got that slash graphic synthetic upper, which again is very flexible and soft, so it gets another big tick. The Pure Cut cover, although it might be a little bit uncomfortable for someone like me, I still think it does a good job of creating a very uninterrupted ball touch and ball feel. Now one thing that is a little bit dubious is the NSG technology which Adidas say all their top line models come with. We can see it has that dotted application across that slash graphic upper, but does it really make a difference? Probably not. So while I think there's a lot of great things about the Purechaos, Adidas say it comes with NSG, but overall it doesn't really make that much difference. So what kind of player tastes and foot types are going to suit the X16 Plus Purechaos the best? Now if you've got slightly wide feet, these are going to be a brilliant option for you, especially compared to the previous X15.1 which are a little bit narrow. These give you a little bit more width, especially in the midfoot. So if you're someone like Tom with slightly wide feet, these are going to be a great option for you. And the upper itself is so soft, again it's going to give you some nice width and flexibility, but also great ball touch and feel. So let's put the Purechaos aside and bring the Primeknit to look at the A17.1. So we've already talked about the attack-minded X16 Plus Purechaos, but let's look at the other turbocharged boot by Adidas, the A17.1 Primeknit, which is definitely more of a control-themed boot, which is why you're going to see the likes of Miralem Pjanic wearing these boots to play long distance diagonals and also some cute passes. Now this Turbocharge Ace shares that same green colorway as the X, but there's also some differences with the design and also the benefits to performance. So whilst the colorway of the Ace and the X are exactly the same, the actual design of them are incredibly different. So on this 17.1 Primeknit, we've got core green going in the solar green with that same kind of gradient, and then more solar green and core green mix at that toe box portion. Now on that Purechaos model, we actually went from solar green into core green and was much more of a block colorway, whereas on this A17.1 Primeknit, we can see that there's a mix of the two colors across the entire boot and sole plate. So we've spoken about how there's a slight difference in the design compared to the Ace and the X models, but there's actually a bigger construction difference between each model by Adidas. Now if you're someone like Blake at football boots, he's got very wide and bulky feet, and the 17.1 has a very high profile, especially compared to the more flat and narrow X16 Plus Purechaos. So if you do have very bulky feet and have high arches, then the 17.1 is going to be brilliant for you, because you can just see how high arch and high profile the model is. So it's going to be very accommodating for wide and bulky foot shapes. So if you do have wide feet, but they're actually quite low, maybe a little bit like mine to be fair, then the 16 Plus Purechaos is going to be the better model for you. So looking at each side by side, top and bottom, which one is going to be for you? So let me tell you guys the main reason why the 17.1 Primeknit is the more well-rounded boot compared to the A17 Plus Pure Control. And it only comes down to one factor, and that's that the Primeknit actually features laces. Now, not everybody's foot shape and type is the same across the world, so obviously not everyone's foot shape and type is going to fit the Pure Control, and to get the right size is very difficult. And I know that there's not a lot of shops out there which actually stock the Pure Control, and you have to get them online. So finding that right size can be incredibly difficult. So if you are buying your shoes online, your football boots online, then definitely go for the 17.1 Primeknit, because you can actually customize the fit, especially around that midfoot. If you have wide feet like Tom or Blake, then you can make it a little bit looser, or if you have more narrow feet like me, then you can tighten them accordingly. So let's talk about one of my favorite features of the 17.1 Primeknit, and we're going to flip the boots over and look at that sole plate. Now it's made from Adidas' sprint frame, which like on the Purechaos is a brilliant sole plate. It's slightly different, it's got a much thicker stiffener bar going across that midfoot portion, which is incredibly stiff, which is what you want it to be, so you get some nice responsiveness, but then very flexible in the toe box. Overall, it is a brilliant sole plate. It is sprint frame, which is very popular, and obviously Adidas do like that across all their models at the moment. I think it really is nailed on perfection. And also it's got those very classical conical studs compared to the Purechaos, which has teardrop, which give you a little bit more bite when changing direction. But if you want something a little bit more traditional, then this conical stud configuration on the sprint frame sole plate is going to be a great option for you. Now, something that doesn't feature on the Purechaos but does feature on the 17.1 Primeknit is that there's a little bit of gold trim around those black Adidas 3 stripes, which is a lovely touch. Me, myself personally, I really like gold accents and also gold boots. Now, there might be one specific reason why there's a little bit of gold trim on these turbocharged Primeknits, and that's because there's been a couple of rumours about how there's going to be a gold Messi being released. Now, we can't confirm 100%, but there has been maybe a couple of leaks online and also some chat online about a gold Messi boot coming out. So it's a lovely touch on this Primeknit boot, and don't be surprised if you see a gold Messi boot coming out in the very near future. So guys, which boots out of the Turbocharge pack by Adidas do you prefer? The X16 Plus Purechaos or the A17.1 Primeknit? Vote in the poll card now, and also let us know your reasons why in the comment section below. Thanks for watching guys, cheers.